I know what you're going to talk about, my domestic life.
Yes.
No.
He does go on to talk about his personal life and particularly his daughter's estrangement, and in my opinion, is very, very telling. But before I pick it apart in the way that I do, I want you to keep one thing in mind. I'll put my head on the chopping board and I'll say, I get the sense that this guy is not a good guy. I get the sense that he's quite an emotionally toxic person. Big statement to make. I could be wrong. Absolutely, I could be. Tell me in the comments if you think I am. But do not think that I'm overanalyzing this, because if he is what I think he is, every word, not just word, but way that it's delivered, the energy that it comes from and what it's made to do to you, as in the impact it's made to have on you, is measured, and he knows what he's doing. So keep that in mind when you're watching. Maybe you think I'm crazy. Tell me about it too. Maybe you agree with me. I'd love to hear that too. And I'll see you on the other side.
It's sensitive for you. So
I know what you're going to talk about, my domestic life.
Yes.
No.
So before we get into this, right, I just want to say a couple of things, right? There's a lot of people that are saying this is none of anybody's business. What happened with him and his daughter stays between him and his daughter. I actually probably go along with that to a degree, but the dude's written a book, and this is in his book. The interview that we are about to watch and pull apart is from an interview that is promoting his book, right? I'm cool with the monetization of your story. Of course I am, right? I think it's great. However, one of the exchanges that you're giving when you tell your story is that you are literally asking people to pull it apart, to have an opinion on it, to judge you. That is why you write a memoir. It's like, here's my story, read it and see what you think. This is an interview that is about it. So, can I give him some benefit on the doubt on some of them? Could we put some of his bad mood that we're about to see down to maybe this being the 5th interview of the day or something like that? Maybe we could, but I still want to pull apart some of the things that he said in here. Particularly as a lot of people are saying, well, look, he's being interviewed by a crappy journalist and he shouldn't be doing that to him and stuff like that. But you're going to hear what the journalist said. So let's just listen for a minute.
No.
Even though it's in the book.
No. It's done.
Can I ask a general question that's not specifically about the material in the book?
Well,
It's about the... But I'll stumble through this. Part of...
So look, by the way, just to be clear, this is clearly like an emotive thing for this guy. You're going to hear why in a second, right? But this isn't like a journalist trying to catch him off guard.
The reason that the material in the book about your relationship with your daughter, your estranged relationship with your daughter, part of the reason why I found it so painful is that it resonated with me for personal reasons. I've seen my father, I think, twice in 20 years. I've spoken to him once in those 20 years. And I'm very curious about other people's experience of that kind of estrangement. In this instance, the estrangement is my choice, but I just wonder if you have thoughts about where reconciliation might lie between it.
So the question is about reconciliation, right? This is a guy that's basically said, no, I'm estranged from my father, have been for a long period of time. In this instance, it's my choice, right? So he's basically saying, look, I am the version of your daughter in my story, right? So he's given very openly, actually difficult for him in many ways to ask the question to Anthony Hopkins, okay?
Estranged parents and children.
my wife, Stella, sent an invitation to come and see us.
So look, one of the comments, I've done like a little bit of a video of this on my Instagram, and you should go and check it out if you haven't seen it. This is a deeper dive, right? But one of the comments that a lot of people say in there is that straight off the bat, why is it his wife reaching out and not him, right? Now, knowing that estrangement is complex, and I know that he's in recovery, right? So I know that he's in recovery from 12 steps, I got sober in 12 steps recovery places, so I understand exactly how they work. So making a defense for him, for his wife reaching out, could be he's reached out a number of times and we don't know that yet, right? But like trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. It could be that he's reached out a bunch of times and he knows that he gets no response. He may be keeping a boundary that she's asked to keep, right? It may be that he's keeping that boundary. Again, that might be a positive reason why his wife has reached out. But on the flip side of that, why isn't he reaching out? If either of those things aren't true, why isn't he reaching out? But all of that said, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this occasion, right? Let's start from a place that assuming that, like, for the sake of this balanced argument that I'm trying to have, let's just say his wife is reaching out because he's done so and he's keeping that boundary, and he thinks that maybe it's a softer in and she's more likely to respond for his wife. There could be a number of reasons for that, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, okay?
Not a word.
Not a word. Listen. This is where I'm going to go. This is where I'm going to go into like thinking and saying what I really, really think. The not a word. Now, different generations speak differently, different mannerisms, whatever. But there's energy in the way that we say things, right? One of the things about emotional abuse is that people think that, I think people might think that emotional abuse is like this thing that just happens where it's like somebody's really nasty to you all of the time and it's like they say all these horrible things. That's one form of emotional abuse. But I would argue probably most emotional abuse is the energy in the way of which people say things. So let's try and imagine that we're his daughter for a moment. I think there's a lot of energy in the way that he said not a word, right? For me, it is said in a way that is showing his disdain towards the fact that not a word, like because he got his wife to reach out, and we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt of that, but because he got his wife to reach out, right, she should at least be giving a word. Now, her last word might have been, I'm never speaking to you again, right? Because of all the things, I'm never speaking to you again. So the energy in that word, not a word, shows to me, right, that he wants us to know that he's not happy with that. That he feels he deserved more
Of response. So I think, okay, fine.
Interesting, isn't it? That not a word said in that is followed by a interesting, I think, okay, fine. Like, that is a subtle manipulation of words here. Very subtle manipulation of words, because what he's doing is he's done the not a word. So he's made his point with the energy in his words. But then he's like, caveated that by saying, oh, I'm okay with that. I think, okay, yeah. But your first sentence doesn't say that. So that is a subtle manipulation.
I wish her well. Brandon?
I don't believe him. I'm sorry, I don't believe him. I wish her well. Now, it's a good thing to say. And I wish her well could be like a parting thing. Now, listen, estrangement is complex. We know that, right? I don't know too much. I mean, I've done a little bit of like reading, and he was an alcoholic. We know that he was an alcoholic. We know that he was openly that he was not a very nice dad, and then he estranged. And then there's been times since that estrangement, in more recent years, by the way, where he has said he doesn't care whether she wants a relationship with him. Now, he might be hurting and saying those things out of out of that hurt and not really mean them. But he has written a book here, so he spent a lot of time with this, right? He would have known this is coming. When you do interviews and you're like this and you've written about estrangement, you know these questions are going to come up. So he will have given them some thought. So he can't really, if we're thinking about true accountability here, he can't really use the excuse that was just like, I sort of didn't really mean it. I was just angry or I was hurting, right? He's written a book on it. You got to expect this stuff. Let's talk about accountability again, okay? So he could be, though, saying, I wish her well. He could be saying that, right? To go back to my original point, it's complex, right? We know that estrangement is complex. So there could be reasons where he has become a better person, but the pain is too much for her, and so he has to wish her well and move on with his life. I can accept that at some stage in your life, you have to go, if you were truly taking accountability and, you know, working hard and trying to be the better person, you have to get on with your life. I accept that. I've met good people that are estranged for good reasons on the side of the adult child, and know that reconciliation may never come because what they did was so bad and so hurtful, and it doesn't matter what they do. They should have they do need to try and live on with their lives. But I still think that it would be more of a case of, I wish them well. I will continue to spend the rest of my life hoping that I can be the person that I need to be in order to make up for the things that I've done, right? But I wish her well. It's not that, in my opinion.
I'm going to waste blood over that. If you want to waste your life being in resentment,
This is the worst bit for me. So he says he's not going to waste blood over that. If my child was estranged from me and I recognized that it was because of things that I'd done, which he does, by the way, he recognizes that it was him. But what he's suggesting is that she should be over it by now, right? Which is what we're going to go on to do. So let me try and put myself in his shoes, try and give him the benefit of the doubt. I've done these bad things. I recognize that I was a bad person. I'm looking for her to give forgiveness to me, but she isn't yet giving me forgiveness despite how many years it's been. Any blood I spill, and that's a metaphor, so let's not take it literally, it's a metaphor. It means any kind of pain that I went through, right? Any blood that I spill for the rest of my life for my child that was estranged from me would not be wasted. It would be an attempt. It would be a fucking worth it attempt. You take every drop of blood from me if you want, and I've got children, and some of them are adults. Take every drop of blood from me, and it would not be wasted if it was at least an attempt to make up for the pain that I caused.
50 years later, 58 years later, fine, go ahead. It's not in my ken.
I forgot to say about the resentment bit. He goes, if you want to live in resentment, so it's not a flippant comment, right? What he's doing is he is expressing in his mind how he is viewing what he believes is resentment from her. Let's be really clear about resentment. Resentment means that she is living in a place, in a negative place. People often say about resentment, it's like drinking poison and hoping that it hurts the other person. So he's assuming just because she's moved on with her life, maybe she's cut contact, probably arguably might have been one of the hardest things she did. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was so bad when she was younger that it was easy, right? I don't know, but she's cut ties. His view is that automatically means that she is in resentment. Lots of people want to put this out on Instagram, by the way. Lots of comments on there. He's right. In the end, you have to forgive and not forgiving does not automatically equal resentment. Not forgiving does not automatically equal resentment. You can move on without forgiving. Forgiveness requires me to give a little bit of grace to my perpetrator. You don't have to do that. You can move on, right? People say forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about moving on. No, that's moving on. It's not forgiveness. So let's call it what it is. But here, what he's now doing is talking about her being in resentment. This is her problem, okay?
See, I could carry resentment over the past, this and the other. But that's death.
This is telling. He might not be doing this, but I get a sense that what he's doing here, maybe I'm wrong, but he's now comparing himself to her. Because he's just said, if you want to live in resentment, so he was talking about her, and now he's going, I could live in resentment. So there's a sense here, in the way that he said it, that he's now saying he's not going to do that, right? So he's sort of comparing that I'm not going to live in resentment like she is, right? Resentment is death. Big line. It's a big line. And for me, it's a big line to say when you set it up in the way that I've just said. I could live in resentment, but I'm not. So we're separating ourselves as being a slightly better person when we say that, because I think that means death. Big words.
You're not living. You have to acknowledge one thing, that we are imperfect. We're not saints. We're all sinners and saints or whatever we are. We do the best we can. Life is painful. Sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes we get hurt. But you can't live like that.
It's interesting, isn't it, that he has then gone on to become all philosophical about this. Would I become philosophical about this? Again, let me try and put myself in his shoes. I've been asked about my daughter. I've just written a whole book, right? And a big part of that in the memoir was the estrangement, where I've talked about it in the book. I'm now doing an interview where I'm letting people know about the book. I know that these questions are going to come. So I've been thinking about it. It's been on my mind. I'm not been caught off guard. All right? Is one of my tactics to become philosophical about it? I don't think it is. Some of us are good, we're all saints and sinners, so we're all good and bad. That's not true. There are some people that are just fucking bad. By the way, there are some people that are just bad. You can agree with me or disagree with me on that if you want, but what was Jimmy Savile? I don't see any good there, right? And I know some toxic, horrible, nasty, narcissistic people, and I'm not saying that he is or isn't that. Although I have my opinion on it, and so that I'm not being passive in that, I think from what I'm getting, he is that. He's gone philosophical here. So he's not like, you know what? I deserve to be here, and I'm going to work my hard the rest of my life to try and not be here. I hope that a bit of effort that I put in one day means that my daughter wants a relationship with me. He's gone all philosophical. Nah, you have to let bygones be bygones. He's saying to his daughter, I've let it go. I'm willing to let it go. Why can't you? I haven't heard one bit of accountability yet, right? So far, up until this point, I can't remember if there's anything that I can even frame as accountability. I haven't heard a single drop of accountability. So you might want to be philosophical about it. Being philosophical about it might be the way that you help yourself. I can understand that, right? Again, let's play. If I'm putting myself in his shoes and I've done a bad thing and I know that I've done a bad thing, I probably would have to get quite philosophical about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to be here anymore. So I get that he wants to be philosophical about it for his own self. But when you're asked about reconciliation to your daughter, that's what the question was. Remember, the question was about how do you reconcile? And the question was from somebody that is estranged from their parent, and he's decided to be philosophical about how good a person he is because he's let it go. And we're all saints and sinners, and sometimes you hurt people, and all of these things are true. All of these things are true. And what is also true is when you hurt somebody, particularly one of your own children, when you hurt them so badly that they don't want to have a conversation with you, then you need to move towards accountability. So my answer to the question, and let's not pretend I'm a fucking great person, but I'm, reflecting on this video, I would think accountability. How do I become accountable for this? We haven't heard any of that yet.
You have to say, get over it. And if you can't get over it, fine. Good luck to you. But I have no judgment.
He can't say he has no judgment. That's such a typical, again, it's one of these subtle forms of manipulation where he's judged the fuck out of someone and then decided to not be judgmental. It just isn't right. That you can't be judgmental as fuck and then say I'm not being judgmental.
But you did what I could. So that's it.
Did you do what you could, or did you not do enough? What I did was not enough is more accountable than I did what I could. I mean, look, maybe he's reached the stage where he thinks he did what he could. He's an alcoholic, right? Maybe that's even true. And listen, I'm an alcoholic. I was horrible to my kids for their initial years. I will live the rest of my life in regret and guilt. My children still want to have a relationship with me, and I work towards accountability every day. I will live the rest of my life trying to make up for what I was when I was younger. I could have done better. I didn't do the best that I could. I could have done better. Was I doing the best that I could with the skills I had? If you want to be philosophical about it, maybe. But ultimately, looking back, I could have and should have done better.
That's all I want to say.
Do you hope your daughter reads the book?
I'm not going to answer that, no. I don't care.
He says he doesn't care. He said he's not going to answer it, but then he had to let her know that he didn't care. I guess he could then say that he was pressed on the question, couldn't he? Listen, you'll make up your own minds. You can make up your own minds, but that is how I pulled it apart. If you want a video on all of the comments on Instagram, because I did a 90-second version of this that went out on my Instagram and TikTok, actually, and went viral on both. If you want a rundown of the comments on there, Let me know in the comments below, and I'll do a video where we run through some of the comments and I pick them apart as well. Thanks for listening.